Hello, welcome to my videos. My name is Jose in case you are new to my page, but for the most part, this video here that I went ahead and created, it goes over a few different things about Blender, especially if you're new to it. Definitely right off the bat, it is going to be when it comes down to like the navigation. I do go over renders in addition to UVs and also how to be able to edit as well. But for the most part, if any of that interests you, please by all means feel free to scrub through, see which part is the one that you need assistance with, and if you by any chance need any more help or you're not certain on what to do in particular, or maybe it's just something specific, I'd love to be able to help out people, especially in this field. It's something that I have a lot of passion for. So yeah, I don't know about you guys, but I definitely want to be able to show and educate more people about these types of about this type of program, especially because I myself am a 3D artist and there's a lot of passion into the work that I do, and I love sharing that passion with others. Alrighty, so stay tuned and thanks for watching. Alright, perfect. Once you go ahead and open up Blender, it should look very similar to this type of layout, especially after setting it up. But if it's your first time, go ahead and select, usually for this one, I think I'll just end up doing more of a general file, but as you start getting your programs, well, not your programs, I'm sorry, but for your projects loaded into Blender, like as you go on, you can easily be able to access them here along the right side for your recent files. But let's go over to general. You're going to be greeted with this type of layout. Now, to be able to make the controls look very similar to programs like Maya, you can be able to go over to Edit on the top left-hand corner, scroll down to Preferences, and you're going to get this additional window. And from here, we're going to go over to, I believe it's going to be under Navigations, Key Map. Let's actually go over to Key Map, and when you hit this drop-down menu, you're going to come across Blender, Blender 27X, and Industry Compatible. Industry Compatible is basically going to be something very similar to what Maya uses for their controls. So this is where you can use WER to be able to move, scale, and rotate, in addition to using Alt middle mouse click to be able to like, man, I forgot the term, but it's basically where you pan your view over. Oh, there you go, panning your view across your scene. So to be able to switch it over to Maya, just make sure you select Industry Compatible. From there on the bottom left, don't forget to save Preferences, so that way that stays the same. Once you're good, then from there you should be able to start hitting your keys very normally, just like Maya. Now, in addition to that, if you're looking to get a very similar window layout like Maya as well, go ahead and drag over to the right side where you can be able to quickly make the viewport a lot bigger, smaller, but instead of clicking with the left mouse button, right click, and you're going to get this area where you have a vertical split, horizontal split, and swap areas. Go ahead and basically select the vertical split so that way you have that two different viewports. And in addition to that, let's see, how was I able to do this? Oh, perfect. You also have this playback slider here at the bottom, so that way when you do an animation you can hit play and then it'll start playing your frames. But instead we're going to go over to the top left hand corner. That's going to be the edit type. We're going to go to 3D viewport, and then once again on the right side we're going to go ahead and split, and boom, now we have 4 different viewports, very similar to like when you hit, I believe it's spacebar in Maya, and then it gives you like these different types of viewports where you see the view for like Z, X, and in addition to let's go and select Y. So that way when you manipulate your objects, especially if you have a photo reference, you can be able to easily look at those different views and be able to help you sculpt out your model or object that you're looking to use. All right, so that would be it. My other tip that I would probably recommend is definitely go ahead and explore within the program. Once you start exploring within here, you should be able to start getting familiarized with a lot of the different things. Blender does have a bit of a different, well, not a bit, but actually a huge difference when it comes down to layout and in terms of like how you used to do things within Maya and figuring it out and doing it within Blender. Yeah, it is going to be a bit of a learning curve, but for the most part, if you have patience and you're willing to continue learning, a lot of your projects as you go through, you'll start noticing that you're probably going to be using very basic controls, and as you start to explore what else you can do within Blender, that's where you can go ahead and really start deep diving in terms of its capabilities. So those would be basically like some of the like get started to be able to learn Blender. Now there's a few other like tips and tricks I'd love to be able to go over, and I'm gonna just touch them very lightly. And if you guys want to go a little bit more of a deep dive into it, then I'll make a YouTube video and also upload, letting y'all know when it is posted. But for the most part, my other 2 cents that I want to touch on very quickly is if you are working, like let's say you finish your model and you're ready to go ahead and start UVing, my number one tool that I'll probably recommend is, hold on, let me go ahead and reset my Windows real quickly. We're going to switch this over to video sequencer. Sure, we'll keep it like that. All right, so my 2 cents when it comes down to UVing is definitely want to have two windows open, your viewport, and then you're going to want to go over to the top left-hand corner and make your way over to UV editor. So, all right, once you have your windows set up with your UV editor and also your viewport, in your viewport, this is where we can go over to object mode, switch over to edit, so that we can edit the current active object. So let's go ahead and just add a couple edge loops here, just so that we can have something very quickly to be able to show like the UVing. Sorry, I'm not really putting much effort into this. All right, perfect. So we'll go with something like this. Once you have your object completely UV'd, then there's a couple different ways that you can go about it. The first one is you can hit Control-Alt or Control-A, go over to UV, Smart UV Project. I would also recommend doing island margins, so that way there's some spacing between your UV shells. And in addition to that, also have your, what is it called? UV sync selection. This keeps the UV and edit mode mesh selected in sync, so that way when you go ahead and touch, or not touch, but select your objects, it will go ahead and show up in the UV editor as well. Anyhow, we're gonna go ahead and select the entire thing again by selecting Control-A, go to UV, Smart UV Projection, make sure you put in your island margin. I leave mine's at 0.015, and I have correct aspect selected as well. Besides that, we're gonna hit Unwrap, and that's gonna throw it over to the UV editor window, right? Now, there's also some other tips and tricks that I would also recommend to do, especially in case if you start to manipulate your models and it gets a little complicated and there's a chance that you may have a inverted UV or an inverted face. And just to kind of show you what I mean is, that's not under, that's the thing about Blender, is that there's a lot of different ways to do things. So let's say, for example, you edit for a long time and you have a UV or a face that's facing the incorrect way. But right now, by default Blender, we don't know what's actually correct. So we're gonna make our way over to, and also, sorry, I keep forgetting, but there's a lot of things, especially when you have small windows here. Hover your mouse over, and you're just gonna scroll down using the middle mouse wheel. And now we can hit over here where you can look at your wireframe, your solid mesh. Then you can also see it with texture, and in addition to that, it's actual render. We're gonna keep it under just mesh. We're gonna drop down that window, and when we drop it down, wireframe color, we're gonna go over to the object. So the wireframe is gonna be basically what you see for your object here, and you can change that color to basically anything that you like. So that way it's easy for you to be able to see what you have selected, okay? I'll go ahead and put that right back. But we're gonna make our way over to the mesh edit. Wanna make sure we have faces here, and which one is it? Face, I believe it's gonna be face area. And we can do something like 25. And we're gonna also select display normals. So this here is gonna show you that your faces are facing the correct direction. So this one that we ended up flipping, intentionally, we see that it's not actually flipped. Well, that it is flipped, but it's facing the wrong way. So to be able to fix that, we're gonna go over to mesh, normals, flip, and now it's in the correct direction. Let's see, what else is the last tip that I'll probably give as well is, hopefully this helps you out when it comes down to the UVs before I go into my last tip. There's also one more when it comes down to UV editor. We're gonna go ahead and select the entire shells. Let's say you have a lot of parts together, especially let's say for something like a fence or a wall or something like that, right? What you can do is you can go over to the UV and you can pack your UV shells, and this is called pack islands. When you select that, you can go ahead and put like your margin that you'd want. So for this one, I have it as 0.001, and then you can also do it with the closest UTMs. So when you go ahead and select that and you hit pack, this here is gonna actually move it to the closest UV shell. That might have actually been a horrible example. So let's say all right, so let's do this. To have multiple UVs, go to the new tab, go ahead and give it a 1002 name. Blank is fine. You can also change the resolution here, but we're gonna keep it at 1024. Then we're gonna go to the caret option on the far right, and it should be under generated. We're gonna select generated and go to UTM tiles. And when you hit the plus sign, you can go ahead and start to put in those multiple UV shells. Right, and so the part that I was showing that was probably a horrible example to show is when you have your pieces that you're looking to put into the UV, we can go to UV, do pack islands, and when you have it selected to closest UTM, it will go ahead and snap it to the closest one that it's located, just like that. So that can help you also UV very quickly between your objects, especially if they do have some, especially if they're very complicated. So once again, just to kind of show that quick example. And boom, there we go. Perfect. All right, final 2 cents. When it comes down to the actual renders, this is probably one of the ones that was like the most irritating because everything's kind of spread around. You're gonna have this window over here that's gonna be basically your properties, and for your for your renders, I should say, we're gonna go back to object mode. We have this light here. Make sure you have lighting in your scene, but not only that, for your object, definitely want to set up a camera, which default one should be okay. We can go over to the UV window. We're gonna go to 3D viewport. We're gonna do view, cameras, active camera. I'll go ahead and put us into frame, and then we're gonna select the light, and from the light we're gonna go over to the light properties down here on the bottom right, and this is where you can give it the strength, the color, and everything that you need for it. You can also select if it's like a sun, spotlight, area, and then this little ball here is for you to be able to change your direction for it as well. As of right now, we're gonna go ahead and leave it as is, and we're gonna we're gonna middle mouse scroll the viewport all the way over to the right, and then we can be able to switch in between the different render viewports. Before actually doing your renders, you want to go over to your camera, select your camera, then you're going to go over to renderer engine. You can switch between Eevee, workbench, cycles, whichever one you prefer. If you do cycles, make sure you have GPU computed selected. From there, let's see what else. Go to camera. You can be able to adjust some more, especially when it comes down to your final renders. And if I'm not mistaken, under renderer, before you actually do the full render of the animation, especially if it's going to be something you're going to be showcasing, let me see if I can get us over to the timeline. For animation down here, definitely want to go ahead and edit the amount of frames that you want to play it for, and then same thing applies to anything that you may have simulating. But overall, for the actual render portion, we can go over to let's see, it's going to be under render. We can do render image and just kind of give it a test run and see if it actually renders completely. It's going to let you know how long it's going to run. The higher the resolution, the more time it's going to consume. Right now I have it for 4K by default. That's just me. I don't know why I'm built like this, but this is just what I prefer. And it will go ahead and finish up doing the entire render for the entire scene. And then you just let it do its thing. But those would be my overall tips when it comes down to Blender, especially when you're new. If any of these are interesting to you, or you would like for me to deep dive a little bit more, by all means, leave a comment. I'm more than happy to make a YouTube video to go ahead and explain a little bit more in depth of all these different tips and tricks. All right. Besides that, thank you for watching.